I'm Samuel K. Freshman. I grew up in Michigan, lived in Huntington Woods, graduated from Royal Oak High School with a modest academic record. But in those days, it was not too hard to get into college. I was very fortunate. I wanted to go to California, and I discovered that the furthest away I could go from home was Palo Alto, California. And the line went right through Stanford University. I applied, and fortunately, by the time I was ready to graduate from law school, my father had bought a business in Pasadena, California, and he said, go into real estate, that's where all the money's made in California. So I took his advice, and the rest is history, I guess.
Sam was always interested in entrepreneurial opportunities, and I was always full of entrepreneurial opportunities, but I just didn't have any money. I remember in one case we looked at the Malibu theater deal, and I think what happened there is he liked maybe the deal, but I don't think I passed the ARDIT test. So he passed on that deal, and that deal was incredibly successful and lucrative, and of course he lived in Malibu at the time, so every weekend he would come to the movie theater and see how successful it was. So the next time around, we had an opportunity in Hawaii. And in order to make that happen, I had to have lunch with Sam and Ardith along with my mother. They wanted to see, you know, what the whole family scene was like. So we had that lunch at Sam's Country Club in Malibu at the time. And the lunch lasted a couple hours, and I guess I passed the test because Sam put in a couple $1,000,000 as a result of my mother attending the lunch with me. So I thank my mom and I thank Sam for that, and I think Ardith was the final say on it. And then that transaction turned out to be a huge winner. He got back 5 times his money in less than 2.5 years. So that really started a long-term successful relationship with Sam and Ardith.
I think he saw the future in real estate, because even if times are bad, if you own real estate, you still have something to look at. It isn't a piece of paper. So I think he understood that.
I've done other things as well, but it's always had something to do with real estate. And by 1983, my side business of investing in real estate was doing much better than law practice. But in one year, about 1981 or 82, I put together a deal where I made more money than I made in the 20-some odd years of practicing law, and I said, that's it. Even though I like the law, I can't afford it anymore. And I went full-time over to Standard Management, which is a company I started probably around 1962, and had other people running it until about 83, when I went full-time into that.
I met Sam in 1986 when I went to work for him. He chose to hire me as controller. It was an incredible opportunity for me because Sam was a teacher, he is still a teacher, and he also provided us with an amazing amount of opportunity to advance rapidly through his organization. I started out as controller. Within a couple of years I was CFO, and a couple of years after that they made me vice president of finance, which was very exciting for me. And then in the 8 years that I worked for him, everything I knew about real estate I learned from him.
Sam said something I think his father told him, it may have even been his grandfather, once to me that I never forgot. He said, Stender, if you don't want to read about it tomorrow in the newspaper, don't do it. And I think that's very typical of Sam in the way he approaches not only his business, but all of his personal relationships. He's a man with a great deal of integrity.
We had invested in lots of apartment houses, and we decided to invest in some hotels. And we found out very quickly that we didn't know anything about the hotel business, and we decided to sell and get out. And I wanted to take the loss in that year to offset some other gains. And Sam said, don't worry about it, I'll buy you out so you can take your loss right now. So 6 months went by, and I heard from Sam, and he said, well, we closed the deal, And we had the good fortune of selling the liquor license separate from the hotel. So I've got a check for you. The next day, when I opened the mail, there was a check for $160,000. I don't think there are a lot of syndicators that I've met in my lifetime who would have treated that particular deal that generous way. They would have said, hey, I did you a favor, you got out, you didn't stick around for the bad, so when the good happens, you're out of luck. Not Sam.
The numbers on the deal either work or they don't, and you have to be careful not to fall in love with the project. I made that mistake once or twice and held on too long. I also found that although I've done some development, that at least for me, it's often easier to buy an existing project than to build one, and cheaper. I've owned property in about 15 states and maybe 27 metropolitan areas, but I probably should have just stuck closer to home. It would have done a lot better than jumping all around the country.
Well, one of Sam's admirable characteristics is his strive for youth and staying young, and he attributes a lot of that to the office and to working. And he works to stay young, he says. At the same time, he'll tell you that he's never worked a day in his life.
Sam is the ultimate networker. He will walk into any room with a stack of business cards this high, and he'll walk out with a stack of business cards this high. But he'll walk in with his business cards and he'll walk out with everyone else's. And I've seen Sam repeat that masterful networking performance over and over again in every room that he walks into.
The other fundamental piece too is how important mentoring has been in his life, and taking the time to give lectures or write books and really give back to an industry that has been so important to him and made him so successful is a wonderful thing to see.
In 1971, I wrote a book about real estate syndication that became quite popular. I think it sold over 50,000 copies, and it's still selling.
I mean, we've all seen his book, the red book, him with the pile of money, and while, you know, maybe a little sort of honed and exaggerated as book art cover, but captures the truth, you know, we all know that there's so much more to Sam than just about that pile of money. It's about the people and about learning along the way, too.
The thing I'm most proud of is that Chad Hagel came to me about 6 or 7 years ago, he and his friends, and they were forming this Real Estate Alumni Association. And they wanted somebody, I guess, older to be, and asked if I would go on the board.
When we met Sam, when we engaged with him, when we learned of his position in the alumni community, his position in the business community, his legacy, he literally wrote the book on real estate syndication. We realized that he's not just a businessman, but he's an educator, and he believes in helping people grow professionally and helping people to excel in their profession. So it's very, very fitting that as Sam is stepping down as the chairman of the board of SPIRE, that the organization that he helped found and the platform that he helped found in the Stanford Real Estate Hall of Fame is honoring him and honoring his legacy, both to Stanford and to SPIRE.
Well, I think the main thing, which was the thing that my parents taught me, that the most important thing is family.
When we met, I was teaching school, and Sam had just graduated from Stanford Law School and came down to Beverly Hills. And my aunt gave him my phone number. He called me.
We were engaged in 10 days. And we did decide we'd have a 7-month engagement to make sure we really were doing the right thing. And we've been married 57 years.
Soon after that, we had 4 daughters, 7 years between the oldest and youngest. And we always did everything together as a family.
Well, one of the great things was that he always would spend the time on Sundays to be with us. Even if he was really, really busy, even if he had a giant case, he'd always spend time to be with us on Sunday.
One of the fond memories that I have with my dad is going horseback riding with him when I was a little girl, and with the entire family as well. He developed the Malibu Riding and Tennis Club because when he was young, he had said he had great times as a camp counselor. So he wanted us to have that experience, and we would go every weekend and ride together as a family.
Some of my fondest memories of my dad are when we'd play board games together, specifically Monopoly and Stocks and Bonds. I think those were his two favorite games, and quite frankly, the only games that we played. I mean, how cool is that, to be able to play Monopoly with a real estate professional? These are really great, fun bonding times where we were able to enjoy each other and play a game, and Dad was also able to teach us about real estate and investments through this play.
My father's very inspirational. He's been a mentor to a lot of people. He put together a book of quotes called The Principles for Success for Love and Work. He's also shown us that hard work really pays off, because he built his own business. He's done so many things helping other people build their businesses. A lot of people would work for him for a number of years, and he really wanted them to go off on their own and encourage them to start their own companies or their own businesses and be successful.
He really has a unique vision in this regard, and I believe that the investment community recognizes him for this.
He's a legend in the real estate business. He's been enormously successful. He's completed a ton of transactions, and he's mentored a lot of people. It's not just me. And I think he takes a lot of pride in all the people that he has mentored, and that he's kicked out of the nest over the years.
He is a wonderful man. He's a family man, a great business person, and truly a mentor to a lot of people.
But I think he really has been wonderful, and I think he was everything that I had hoped that he would be.
He will never buy something that's priced too high, and he will never sell at the wrong time.
Don't make the two mistakes I made. I didn't buy enough and I sold too soon.